The Department of Justice opens a criminal probe into a Federal Reserve governor. Social Security ends paper checks for good, and the NFL season kicks off in dramatic fashion. Plus, a university president steps down after years of turmoil. An insurance company uses a drone to spy on a homeowner. And a daycare in Sydney makes a shocking mistake. And don't forget today's trivia question. Which country consumes the most macaroni and cheese in the whole world? It's Friday, September 5th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. Wherever you're tuning in from, welcome. There's a great mix of stories today, so let's take off with the biggest headlines. We start with big developments at the Federal Reserve. The Department of Justice has opened a criminal investigation into Fed Governor Lisa Cook, looking into allegations that she claimed two different homes as her primary residence to get better mortgage terms. Subpoenas have already gone out in Michigan and Georgia, and DOJ official Ed Martin is overseeing the probe. Cook has denied wrongdoing, refused to resign after President Trump claimed he fired her for cause, and is now suing to keep her job. A federal judge has scheduled hearings on her request to be reinstated, and under the Federal Reserve Act, removing a governor requires a high legal bar. Next, a major change is coming for Social Security recipients. Starting October 1st, the agency will stop mailing paper checks altogether. The shift is aimed at cutting costs and preventing fraud, since paper checks are far more likely to get lost or stolen compared to direct deposit. Only about 1% of the nearly 70 million recipients still rely on paper checks, but they'll need to switch to direct deposit or a prepaid Direct Express card before the deadline. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says this is a bipartisan change that's been years in the making. We have a poll question about paper checks at the end of the show, by the way. And finally, football fans, the wait is over. The NFL season kicked off last night as the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles took down the Dallas Cowboys in the regular season opener. The Eagles, along with the Baltimore Ravens, are the early favorites to win it all this year, with Josh Allen's Buffalo Bills and Patrick Mahomes' Kansas City Chiefs close behind. But keeping up with the season will be costly. NFL games will air on 10 different outlets this year, which could add up to more than $750 in subscriptions if you want to catch everything. Sportsbooks are already seeing record high bets, with preseason action up 30% from last year. Tonight, the Chiefs face the LA Chargers in Brazil before a full slate of Sunday games. Here is your political news. We'll start in Florida. A federal appeals court has temporarily paused the shutdown of the state's controversial Alligator Alcatraz Detention Center. The facility was ordered closed over environmental violations tied to its swamp location, but now operations can continue while the legal fight plays out. Immigration officials say the center is critical to housing detainees, while environmental groups insist it's causing irreparable damage to protected wetlands. On Capitol Hill, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced a heated Senate Finance Committee hearing that stretched more than 3 hours. Senators pressed him on his handling of vaccine guidelines, Medicare policy, and budget priorities, with frequent shouting matches breaking out. Kennedy defended his approach as, quote, evidence-based and transparent, though critics said his positions have fueled confusion around public health. Meanwhile, in Washington, the city's attorney general has sued the federal government over President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops. The lawsuit argues the move violates D.C.'s local authority and effectively places the city under martial law. The Justice Department has countered that the deployment is legal given Trump's broader crime crackdown in the Capitol. And finally, a major court ruling in Massachusetts, a federal judge blocked the White House from freezing $2.2 billion in research funds earmarked for Harvard University. The administration had tied the freeze to ongoing Title VI investigations into anti-Semitism on campus, but the judge said the action was unlawful without congressional approval. The administration says it will appeal the ruling, setting up another high-profile legal battle over higher education funding. Most people know that staying hydrated is essential to nearly every bodily function, but 75% of Americans still don't consume enough fluid daily. You know, as we age, natural bodily changes make staying hydrated even harder, especially without artificial additives or excess sugars. That's where Native Path comes in with a little extra help. Native Path's Hydrate is not just another drink mix. It's a thoughtfully designed formula packed with BCAAs and all 9 essential amino acids to help with muscle recovery and overall vitality. Plus, it's sugar-free and 100% natural. And unlike other hydration mixes that are designed for marathon runners and contain upwards of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, Native Hydrate contains just 230 milligrams of sodium for optimal daily hydration. Free of artificial flavors, sugars, and dyes, it's only 5 calories per serving, and every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free. Visit nativehydrate.com/flyover to see what Native Hydrate could do for your health. I've tried them all, by the way, and they are delicious. Or if it's easier, just click on the link in today's show notes for all of the information. All right, here's your podcast extra. At Northwestern University, President Michael Schill has resigned after 3 turbulent years. His tenure was rocked by anti-Israel protests, lawsuits from Jewish students, and nearly $800 million in federal research funds frozen during Title VI investigations. Schill also drew backlash for firing longtime football coach Pat Fitzgerald after a hazing scandal, which led to a $130 million lawsuit later settled. He'll stay on until an interim president is named and then return to teaching law. In Massachusetts, a homeowner says her insurance company secretly used a drone to threaten her coverage. The company snapped photos of tree branches hanging over her home and warned they'd cancel her policy unless she trimmed them. She spent $1,200 to keep her coverage despite never filing a claim in 12 years. Consumer advocates say more insurers are using drones and satellites to scan for hazards like roof mold or overgrown trees. While companies call it efficient, critics say it feels invasive, and lawmakers in Massachusetts and California are pushing for new protections. I will say this happened to me last year. An insurance company told me that they used drones to see my trees were growing over my house, which was actually not true. They never sent a human person out to even see the trees, so I ended up canceling them. But I know many people are dealing with this type of treatment here in Massachusetts, and it's got to stop. And in Sydney, Australia, a daycare is under investigation after a shocking and kind of sad mix-up. A grandfather accidentally took home the wrong child, mistaking a 1-year-old for his grandchild who had been sleeping in a dark room. The error wasn't caught until the real child's mother arrived. The family says they don't blame the grandfather, but fault the center for failing to follow safety protocols. Authorities have stepped in and staff have been stood down while procedures are reviewed. I'm curious what you think of this story. Who is to blame? The grandfather for not knowing what his grandkid looks like, or the daycare for not vetting the situation properly? Leave a comment in the comment section. I'm eager to read them. Coming up, big money in college sports, peak fall foliage maps, and even a fluffy new locker room mascot for Bowling Green State University. Plus, so much more. In finance news, hiring cooled in August. U.S. private sector employers added just 54,000 jobs, well below economists' estimates of 75,000, and a sharp drop from July's 106,000. It's another sign the labor market is softening faster than expected. Spirit Airlines is scaling back. The budget carrier announced plans to cut flights in a dozen cities, including Oakland, San Jose, Sacramento, San Diego, Portland, Salt Lake City, Boise, Birmingham, Albuquerque, Chattanooga, and Colombia starting October 2nd. United and Frontier are already stepping in with routes to fill the gap. United Airlines plans to launch service to 15 affected cities, while Frontier begins adding 20 new routes into the void. At Home, you know that store, it's closing 30 stores. The home decor chain filed for bankruptcy this summer and will shut down more than 24 locations, spanning 15 states by the end of September. Major closures are hitting California the hardest, with 8 stores confirmed to close. But see the full list in today's show notes. Here's your stock market update. Markets closed higher across the board Thursday. The Nasdaq was up almost 1%. The S&P 500 gained just under that, and the Dow rose 0.75%. Gold inched higher, but Bitcoin slid a little over 1%. The big mover was American Eagle Outfitters, which soared nearly 38% after strong earnings and a boost from ad campaigns featuring actress Sydney Sweeney and NFL star Travis Kelce. In sports news, let's start with soccer, where FIFA is changing the game off the field. For the 2026 World Cup, ticket prices will follow a dynamic pricing model, meaning they'll rise or fall based on demand, just like airline tickets or hotel rooms. That means you could pay as little as $60 for some matches or as much as $6,700 for premium games. And then from global soccer to the business of college sports, the College Sports Commission says it has already reviewed and approved over 8,000 name, image, and likeness deals since it launched in June. Together, those sponsorships add up to nearly $80 million for student athletes, highlighting just how quickly NIL money is becoming part of the college game. Meanwhile, in the NBA, All-Star Game is getting another makeover. Instead of the traditional East versus West, this year it will feature a round-robin format with 2 teams of American-born players and 1 team of international stars, aiming to bring fresh energy and highlight global talent. And finally, football fans are not thrilled about a change to a Sunday staple. NFL Red Zone, famous for 7 straight hours of commercial-free action, will now include ads for the first time ever. Fans lit up social media with complaints, saying commercials break the magic of Red Zone's nonstop pace. What do you think? In science and technology, in Japan, scientists may have found a greener way to do laundry. They discovered that high-intensity blue LED light can safely erase yellow stains from fabric. It works without chemical bleach, offering a potential eco-friendly alternative that could change how we clean clothes in the future. And that is great because I can think of a couple things on my son's clothes that are yellow. And in Italy, Venice's most iconic symbol has a surprising origin story. A new study found that the city's famous winged lion statue wasn't originally Venetian at all. It was actually a Tang Dynasty tomb guardian crafted in China more than 1,000 years ago. Historians say it was repurposed centuries later, becoming one of Venice's most recognized landmarks. Let's wrap up Friday with a few stories that you might have missed, but we thought you should know about. Let's start with streaming. Netflix just announced a new update that will let viewers clip their favorite moments from shows and movies. You'll be able to save them to rewatch later or even share them with friends, kind of like a built-in highlight reel. And then from modern tech to modern fashion, legendary Italian designer Giorgio Armani has died at the age of 91. Armani changed the fashion world with his sleek silhouettes and iconic power suits, building a $12 billion empire that defined elegance for decades. Looking ahead to the fall, the Old Farmer's Almanac has released its 2025 foliage map, and peak color is expected to hit much of the U.S. in mid-October. States like Michigan, New York, and Vermont will see bright leaves earlier in the month, while southern states will peak closer to Halloween. See the full map of when each state will hit their peak foliage in today's show notes. And finally, a little football news with a furry twist. A 3-year-old Persian cat named Pudge has become the unofficial mascot of Bowling Green State University's football team. A player started bringing him into the locker room, and teammates say the cat has helped lift spirits after a recent injury on the squad. See the photo of Pudge the cat in today's show notes. Here's yesterday's poll question and the results about TVs. How many TV sets are in your home right now? 39% said 2 or 3. 22% said 4 or 5. 18% said 1. 10% said more than 5. 6% said none. And 5% said other. Ooh, if it's other, that means you have more than 5. Dang. Thank you so much for voting. I appreciate that. And here's the poll question for today. Earlier, we were talking about paper checks. So do you regularly use paper checks? Yes, no, or what's a check? I am personally keeping checks alive. I write checks for all of my bills. I have no idea why I do it. Is it habit? Is it holding myself accountable so I can actually see and feel the pain of writing out the check for our mortgage, electricity, babysitter, you name it? I definitely think I'm in the minority, though, but Amy Hess will read the answers in tomorrow's show. Vote in the show notes below. All right, I hope you guys are feeling hungry. What country consumes the most mac and cheese? That's today's trivia question. Answer, believe it or not, it's Canada. Canadians go crazy for boxed mac and cheese, what they call Kraft dinner, eating about 55% more of it every year than Americans do. Out of the 7 million boxes sold worldwide each week, 1.7 million end up in Canadian kitchens. It's such a staple there that even former prime ministers have bragged about cooking it at home. There you go. I hope you're hungry. I know I just fed my son mac and cheese for lunch yesterday, and it was the happiest I've seen him literally in the past 2 days. Anyways, that is it for the Flyover podcast. Have a great weekend. Speaking of my son, I am hopping on a flight with my 3-year-old son and taking him to Nashville. I will report back on how it went on Monday morning. Wish us luck. Thank you for watching, listening, sharing, and rating the show. Amy Hess has a great feel-good flyover that you should definitely watch, and she'll take you through the weekend. I'll see you Monday morning. Until then, thanks for flying with us.